club members and our honored guests. And Luke 14:26 says, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." This was my battle cry when I was a new Christian suffering persecution from my parents. Because of my newfound belief, I encountered such persecution. It was a difficult verse for me because I know at the time I understand it perfectly. Not that perfectly, because otherwise I would not have encountered perhaps less persecution if I had more wisdom in understanding this verse. And so it is my purpose this afternoon to explain to you the essence of this verse and the full intent of it. So let me explain it also using some Bible verses. We are told here it is necessary to hate. Immediately when you read that, you say, wait a minute, that seems contrary to what the Bible teaches, because it says in Exodus 20:12, we have to honor and love our parents. Honoring is part of, loving your parents. And certainly that implies, of course, all things that loving parents and that as a family we are obligated to and we are called to. We are also told in Ephesians 5:25 to love our wives. And we're told to love our children. I mean not to have normal family love according to the writing of the Apostle Paul is some kind of aberration, some kind of perversion that characterizes the worst in society. And doesn't the Bible tell us that we're to love our enemies? What are we talking about here? What does this mean? Does this mean that all of a sudden we have to have some kind of emotional venom towards the people in our family? I think that's what I did. That's why I got persecuted at one time or the other. Is that what we're talking about here? Is it some kind of psychological resentment to our family members? Aren't we supposed to love people as part of our evangelistic effort? Aren't people supposed to be able to tell that we're the disciples of Christ? And that is very clear in John 13. Because we love. Yes to all of those things. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a Hebraism. We're talking about a unique way in which the Jewish people use the terms love and hate. It expresses preference, for example, in Malachi 1 when God says, it says, Jacob I love, but Esau I hated. In Malachi verse 1 and it went also to verse 2. And it's repeated in Romans 9:13. God says, Jacob have I loved, Esau I have hated. And it's not talking about the fact that God had some emotional loathing for Esau. It simply means that God gave His promise through Jacob and not through Esau. So it is simply a way to define preference. It can also be a Semitic expression for loving someone less. And for example, maybe the best illustration of this is in the 29th chapter of Genesis. Remember Leah and Rachel? And it says here in verse 31 of Genesis 21, and the New American Standard Version took liberty. It says, now the Lord saw that Leah was unloved. And the translators have taken that liberty there. The word is really hate in Hebrew. But they understand the interpretation because it's a preference here, not some kind of emotional animosity. It simply means Leah was unloved or hated, and Rachel was loved. That is to say, he had two wives. Of course, when you have two wives, you prefer one or the other. I do not know in that culture before. But we read in the Bible that that was what happened. It doesn't mean that the husband, doesn't love the other woman, but it meant that he loved her less. And so during the prayer of Rachel, Lord have mercy on me because I am you know, she is loveless, that, you know, she petitioned the Lord, give me a son, and the Lord, you know, gave her petition to her. Oh, no, it was Leah who was in love and petitioning the Lord. And Rachel was the one that was loved. So that is the comparison, love and unloved. Or you are loved and loveless. It is not counter-commanding us to hate the people that Scripture commands us to love. And the best way maybe to clear that up is in Matthew 10:37. This verse is more set in a positive note, because the word in Luke 23 verse Luke 14:26 is more on the negative side. But this verse in Matthew 10:37, which I read earlier, it says, this verse says, "He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." It's about loving more and loving less. So that's essentially what the love-hate concept is conveying here in this scripture. And if you're to love God exclusively in the fashion that Christ says, you're to love me exclusively in that fashion, then this is a claim to deity and questioning. What he is saying is that when you come to me and you want to be my disciple, Pastor Burmy, we heard from Pastor Burmy about Hebrews this morning, and this is all what it is all about. It's all about discipleship being, as Pastor Burmy said, I took note of it, not half-heartedly but wholeheartedly, 100% commitment to Jesus Christ. That's what this verse is wanting us, to learn a lesson in one aspect regarding our relationship with our parents, with our family. And whenever the family comes into conflict with the Lord, our love for the Lord dictates what we do. And that happened as a personal, I can relate personally. I have to make a choice. My parents are telling me in the past, you don't go to services. They are so angry whenever they see me read the Bible. In that case, what do you choose? You choose to follow God, and there is no question about it. And so I choose to run away from home, because that's the only way I can truly serve and worship God fully. Because in the presence of those things that God says, put away those things that hinder you. And this family is hindering me from worshiping the true God. So that's the best thing I could do. But we read also, if you are a subscriber to Voice of the Martyrs, you would see their cultures, especially in the Muslim cultures, wherein they persecute families. You know what I experience is benign compared to them. In Muslim families, family member who converted to Christianity, they kill them because it's doing something, it's in the Muslim religion, kill the infidel, and they are willing to do that. They burn family members. I read it to remind always myself that we are Christians, and sometime in the future we might be, to strengthen me because there might be in the future persecutions like what we read in that, magazine. And so this is the thing. That verse, hitting your parents and family members, is really saying, deny ourselves. And, and in the end it says, not even family members, but you yourself as well. And how far does this hate go? How extreme this verse 27 says, or 29 to Luke, Luke 14, hating parents and family members. It says, whoever doesn't carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. It's all part of it. And that's all part of being our disciple, being a disciple of Christ, not really hating. It's more of a hyperbole, but God is hammering to us a lesson that we have to worship Him wholeheartedly with our whole heart, and past relationship, whether it's be familiar or other relationship. It's being a Christ disciple demands abandonment of past priorities. Devotion to Christ is the most important relationship that we can have, and that it must take precedence over all human relationships.